This is part three of the lesson on the passive voice. I'm going to resume with the exercise at the top of page 297. That's the middle of exercise 4. And I'm going to start from the beginning because the answers I gave you, although technically correct, would cause you to make an error in, I believe, number 3. So I'm going to go back to that and redo the beginning of it. So at the top, attaché says, "No" with a Q, Quinoa. It's a traditional grain like corn and wheat in other places. It's been eaten by the inhabitants of the Andes for 5,000 years. Jones says, "Everyone connects llamas with Bolivia. What are these animals used for?" The attaché replies, "For many things, clothing, meat, transportation, but they only do well in the Andes. They are raised in the lowlands of the Oriente, the eastern part of the country." And then finally, Jones says, "I see. Now, about other resources. I know that tin is extremely important. Where is it mined?" In the last conversation, the attaché says, "The richest sources of tin are found in the Andes." How about the Oriente? What is produced there? Oil, petroleum, and natural gas. Rice is important, and cattle for meat and milk. What other languages are spoken besides Spanish? Actually, more people speak Native American languages than Spanish. Scientists love Bolivia. Are jaguars still seen there? Yes, they are, and so are river dolphins and birds like condors. Many species. In the last decade, our government's mission has been to protect these rare and beautiful animals. Jones finishes, "Thank you for your time. I'll send you a copy of our publication as soon as the article comes out." Let's move on to exercise 6. We're going to skip exercise 5. So turn to page 299. Here we have an exercise that involves either including or deleting the agent. So you have to choose whether the agent is important for the sentence or whether it's unnecessary. So the top, the one done already. Soccer is the most popular sport in the world. It is played by more than 20 million people. It is called football in 144 countries. Except for the goalies, players are not allowed to use their hands. Instead, the ball is controlled by the feet, the head, and the body. Soccer was not played in the United States very much until 20 years ago. Since then, the game has been made popular by Pelé, Beckham, and other international stars. Forms of soccer have been played by different cultures for thousands of years. A form of soccer was enjoyed in China 2,000 years ago. It was banned by King Edward III of England in 1365. His archers spent too much time playing and too little time practicing archery. Medieval games were played for entire days over miles of territory. Today, the World Cup games are held every 4 years. The best teams in the world compete. So basically, we did not use the agent in several places. For instance, in the sentence for number 5, soccer was not played. We don't need by people because it's obvious that soccer is played by people. So we don't need the agent there. Again, the same thing applies in number 8 where it says soccer was enjoyed in China 2,000 years ago, and in number 10 as well. Some of the others do have agents because it's either not obvious or the agent is important, like by King Edward III of England in number 9 is critical information for that sentence. All right, let's move on then to page 300, and I'll read through the editing for you. You can follow along and see if you were able to get all the correct answers for that. So this is a short biography of an internationally famous photojournalist whose photos have appeared in National Geographic. Um, they've corrected 8 mistakes, and they've corrected 1 mistake. We need to find 7 more. Seeing the World by Diana Brodillo. Reza Degati was born in Tabriz, Iran in 1952. When he was only 14 years old, he began teaching himself photography. At first, he took pictures of his own country, its people, and its architecture. When he was 25, he decided to become a professional photographer. You will delete was in that sentence. This is not a passive voice sentence because he made the decision. Therefore, we don't need the form of be. During a demonstration, he was asked by a French news agency to take photos. He only shot 1.5 rolls of film instead of the usual 20 to 40, but his photos were published in Paris Match, Stern, and Newsweek. In the sentence, we changed was to were because photos is third person plural. Ressa, as he is known professionally, has covered several wars, and he has been wounded on assignment. In this sentence, we need to change knew to known for the passive voice. We need the past participle, so he is known professionally. And then later in that sentence, he has been wounded. For the passive, we need the past participle of the be verb here. Among all his assignments, the project dearest to his heart is photographing children, who he calls the real victims of war. He has donated these photos to humanitarian organizations. Always concerned with the welfare of children, Ressa has made it his life's mission to help them receive an education. His organization, AINA, was created in part to achieve this goal. Here we needed to add was to the sentence because we need be plus the past participle. So AINA was created to achieve this goal. When he was interviewed, Ressa was asked to give advice to wannabe photojournalists. In this sentence, we deleted by an interviewer because it's really redundant to say he was interviewed by an interviewer. That agent is not necessary in this sentence. He replied, "There is a curtain between the photographer and the subject unless the photographer is able to break through it. Open your heart to them so they know you care." Today, Ressa Degati lives in Paris. His photos are widely distributed in more than 50 countries around the world, and his work is published in National Geographic, as well as many other internationally famous publications. In this last paragraph, we changed is to are. His photos are widely distributed. As in the earlier example, we need the third person plural. Now I'm going to move out of the book for a while and look at one of the exercises that's on our class webpage. This would be the active-passive exercise number 3. And I've chosen this one because this deals with some other verb tenses, ones we haven't really looked at yet. And this can often be confusing for students. All right, so let's take a look at this exercise. The directions at the top simply say, change the following active sentences to passive and passive sentences to active. In a few cases, it may not be possible to change a sentence. If a sentence cannot be changed, write no change beside it. Number 1 says, Sue Ellen is being advised by her attorney not to talk to her ex-husband. The first thing we need to do is decide whether this is an active or a passive sentence. So, Sue Ellen is being advised. You want to check for a form of the be verb, and if you have that plus the past participle, you know that you have a passive voice sentence, particularly if you have an agent by somebody as well. In this case, we have all of those things. So we know we have a passive voice sentence. So let's look at it step by step. We need to determine what the verb tense is, and obviously the agent, as we've seen previously, the agent in this sentence would be the subject for the active voice sentence. So we can start out by writing Sue Ellen's attorney. That would be the subject for the active sentence. Now, is being advised. We need to look at the form of be, the tense and form of be, to know what we need to do with the verb in the active voice. Is being. What tense and form is that? Well, that is, because you see the ing, we know, and we have the is, we know that it's the present progressive. So what would be the main verb for the active sentence? It would be advise. So we need to put advise in the present progressive. So now we have Sue Ellen's attorney is advising her not to talk to her ex-husband. Sue Ellen's attorney is advising her not to talk to her ex-husband. Okay, so that's now an active voice sentence, and the verb tense is the present progressive. Number 2 says President Obama has appointed several new judges. Is this an active or a passive? Well, I don't see any form of the verb be, so it can't be a passive, right? This is just a standard active voice sentence with the present perfect verb, right? Has and appointed. So how are we going to make this into a passive? We're going to take the object. Here it's several new judges. That's going to become the subject of the passive voice sentence. So several new judges. Now we need to keep the present perfect tense. So several new judges have, and we need the past participle of be for the present perfect, have been, and the past participle of appoint, appointed. Several new judges have been appointed. By whom? By President Obama. Several new judges have been appointed by President Obama. So that's a passive voice sentence using the present perfect verb tense. So in these first two sentences, we've covered the present progressive and the present perfect. Number 3 says several classrooms will be renovated during the winter holiday. Okay, here we have will be renovated as the verb form. You see be in the future, will be, plus the past participle of renovate, renovated. So we know this is a passive voice sentence. What you will not find here is an agent. There is no by phrase here. So we don't know explicitly who the agent is. That means we would have to figure out what makes sense. Who would the agent be? Who would be the person or persons doing the action in this sentence when we make it an active voice sentence? So you have a variety of options. You really just want to choose something that makes sense. Who would do renovation? Who would do renovations? You could put it in the general as in the college, or because they're the ones who are going to be having the renovations done, or you could be more specific and say workers, something like that. So let's just say workers in this case, and we need to keep the future tense for our active voice sentence. So workers will renovate several classrooms during the winter holiday. Workers will renovate several classrooms during the winter holiday. It's a very basic sentence actually, and just we're using the future tense here with will. Number 4 says Giuseppe achieved his dream through hard work and perseverance. So the object of the verb achieved is his dream, but at the beginning of the sentence as the subject we're going to want to use Giuseppe as the possessive adjective, possessive form. So we'll say Giuseppe's dream, and then we need to make the simple past in the passive here. Giuseppe's dream was achieved through hard work and perseverance. Giuseppe's dream was achieved through hard work and perseverance. We don't need to say by Giuseppe because that would be redundant. We know who achieved it. Number 5, Varela looked angrily at her mother. We do not have a transitive verb here. The verb look does not have an object in this particular sentence. It would make a very awkward passive. It's just not a good choice to make a passive sentence. So we would write cannot change beside this. And I'm running out of time, so we can do number 6 when we meet in class.